Good sticks, everyone. Welcome to the Captain Avalanche Fancast, your unofficial source for all things Colorado Avalanche hockey and more from a fan perspective, hosted by me, Captain Avalanche Corey, and our Michael Misa, Dom. Now, we're no insiders. We're not inside the locker room face-to-face with our favorite players, but we hope to create a relatable and welcoming environment because we're just like all of you listening. Fans with a deep passion for the game of hockey, and in this case, the Colorado Avalanche. Okay, we're actually talking about hockey this week. Hockey games, more specifically. Because who doesn't like to hear two goobers air their armchair coach opinions about their favorite hockey teams? This week, we give better names to some of the segments we beat to death last season, in that we'll be reflecting upon this first full week of Avalanche hockey, the Sharks actually playing any hockey, complaining about the teams that we dote over, Nathan MacKinnon calling the Avalanche fans dumb, an intense Nordiques jersey controversy, and a stat to prove to you why the Avs are already so much better off this season than last. Are you prepared? Quaking in anticipation? Are you ready, dear listeners? Dear fans of hockey? We sure are. Because we're finally into the full swing of things here at the Captain Avalanche Fancast. Well, Dom, I'm realizing that it's kind of just an abrupt jump here into it. So, you know, how are you, Dom? Hockey-wise, at least. How are you?
I wish I could say I was significantly different to last season. I don't want to spoil too many of my notes. So there's a lot of positives hockey-wise, but unfortunately, we're not too different of a spot than the Sharks were last year. So my hockey state of being is similarly up and down, having high highs and some devastating lows, we should say.
I'm reflecting on the fact now. I don't know why I asked you about hockey specifically. I'm so sorry. What have I done, Dom? We're less than 2 minutes into the or we're a little over 2 minutes into the episode. I've already betrayed your trust. We're off to a terrible start. I'm so sorry.
We're fine. And it's the reality of the situation I am as a hockey fan. But you know what the fans or the listeners, I don't know if they want to hear, but they're going to hear about. Right before we started recording, Corey, you and I were talking some nostalgia, talking about the Percy Jackson books and the 39 Clues. So anyone else who gets that nostalgia high from that and just can appreciate just hearing those things and it brings a smile to your face, I hope it does. Drop it in the comments. Let us know that you also had a great reading childhood with all those wonderful books that were very engaging and fun.
Shout out Rick Riordan! Yeah! And I think you're right. I think it might actually be Reardon. We always said Riordan in my house because that's how it's spelled, but I think phonetically it's actually pronounced differently. Oh, here's one. This one might be a bit more of a pull. Did you ever read The Secrets of Droon?
Oh, it sounds so familiar, but it feels like it's the name of a book from Dune because of Droon, and I know we were talking about that as well because I did read the book, the Dune series, but I can't say that I've read that one for certain. No.
Okay, well here's another one. Did you ever read Deltora Quest?
That one sounds a bit more familiar. I mean, I know it depends on what phase of childhood we're talking about because I feel like they happened at different points in time. Mm-hmm. Totally random one that I got on as a kid that my grandma brought back from England one of the times she visited her close friend out there. And they were called, have you ever heard of Cows in Action?
Cows in Action. I can't say that I have, no.
Imagine spies from the future who can time travel to different points in history, except for they are cows.
Sounds like if Back at the Barnyard and James Bond had a baby. That's what you would get.
Certainly unique, but I love that shit. I feel like these books that we're talking about are why enjoyed learning about history so much and just found it fascinating because you see how all these books create their own stories that are completely made up, but they're designed to be inserted into our real world events. So always impressed by that.
Probably why we're both massive fucking nerds.
And here we are inserting our story into the real world of hockey and giving our take, our perspective on it.
You're right. You're right. If anybody out there, since we're talking about books, wants some good hockey books to read, two that I'd recommend for the Avalanche fans, obviously, read the book Blood Feud by Adrian Dater. It is all about the heated Avalanche and Red Wings rivalry. Red Wings, yeah, every time. Rivalry from the 90s. I think I brought it up last season, but I'm going to pump its tires again this season because, man, it is a good read. So please give that one a read. Might change your perspective on some things. And 99 Stories of the Game, Wayne Gretzky's book. Regardless of what you think of Wayne Gretzky, totally understand. Still a really cool book because it really talks about the history of hockey a lot. And that's just, if you love the game, I think it's a great read for that reason.
Certainly is. And again, if you're looking at things historically, it's not so much about who the people are as what the stories tell or what the impact of those can be in a positive way, just from seeing that perspective. Who better to get an inside the game look from? If you take everything outside of the game and put it to the side, who better would you want to read a book from inside the game?
I agree. Okay. We've kept everybody waiting in suspense long enough. So let's jump into this week's games from a fan perspective. So today, we're going to be talking about the Avalanche versus Utah, their home opener. We're going to be talking about the Avalanche versus the hated Dallas Stars, also a home game. And then finally, we're going to round out our game recap here with the Avalanche at Sabres on an early Monday morning, at least for us here in Colorado. And I'll tell some of you why it was that early in case some of you don't know. So first and foremost here, let's start with the Avs versus the Mammoth. This one was a butthole clincher, to say the least. Of course, we were out there. I was out there in action, live and in person, watching the home opener as I usually do. I think I have only missed one home opener, I want to say, in the last 5 years or so, not counting COVID shortened season. I missed the home opener actually right after they won the cup. It was just a bit outside our price range, but I did get to meet Kyle Keefe and Mark Mosier, which was very cool. Super, super chill dudes. So really, really nice guys. But that is all besides the point here. This was an interesting game. And I just want to say, overall on the whole, Utah played a good game. And had it not been for Scott Wedgwood being an absolute demon the entire game, the Avalanche would have been cooked. I mean, Utah had breakaway after breakaway, generated a lot of great offensive chances. Not that the Avalanche necessarily played like fucking doo-doo ass, but Scott Wedgwood was the hero of that game. There was a big reason why he got first star. And when they were announcing the 3 stars, I said, if Scott Wedgwood isn't the first star, I'm going to riot. It wouldn't be right if that was the case. Well, to kind of break it down here, period by period, the Avs were, to start off in the first period, kind of quietly dominating. They were leading in shots. It felt like it felt like the team defense was doing a good job of keeping the pucks away from Wedgwood. And then even with limited zone time that the Avalanche were kind of struggling to generate, they were moving the puck. And Necas, I realized the reason that he was passing the other team so much early on is he was trying to hit those high-risk passes as he gets his timing with Nathan MacKinnon in stride. And at that point, it hadn't worked yet, but boy, oh boy, we're now at the point where it's working and it's working well, but we'll get to that. Josh Manson once again hit his weekly, or I guess I should say, game quota of sending a player to the Shadow Realm, and that's Jack McBain. I just want to say, on the whole, across all of these games, Josh Manson's looked fantastic. Not only on the defensive side, but he's done a lot of work to keep the puck in the zone. He's done a lot to keep it away from other players. And of course, he's just hitting people. As a matter of fact, the Avalanche, I don't know if you've seen this, Dom, because I don't know how much Avs hockey that you've been watching. The Avs are hitting more, like a lot more. And most of the time by the end of their games, I've seen that they've led the other team in hits. They are just a lot more physical this year while still maintaining that speed element, which is, I think, scary, impressive that you can get your shit smashed in by Josh Manson, and by the time you figure out what the fuck just happened, the puck's already in the back of your net.
Yeah, so I haven't seen a ton. I have seen some of the highlights, but I do know this in this game, and I hope this isn't pulling from your notes because I haven't seen them
It's okay.
all the way through. But Parker Kelly, how about Parker Kelly? 6 hits in that game against Utah. And I would have figured when you bring in a guy like Burns that he would be helping up those hits as well. I mean, obviously, Landy's back healthy. He's going to get it physical and hit some guys along the boards, but Parker Kelly really stepping up. I know he's one of your favorites, Corey, that you've highlighted in the past, and playing physical in that role on one of the bottom 6 lines, or the bottom 6, the bottom 2 lines, and playing those dirty minutes and taking advantage of it, not just being out there to burn time, but being out there and taking advantage of that opportunity to make the other team's life miserable.
Parker Kelly is an absolute defensive nightmare for the other team. I mean, he's always out there just as a dog, and I didn't actually know he ended that game with 6 hits. It doesn't surprise me at all. I'm sure he had probably a similar number of blocks. He is just absolutely unafraid to throw his body in the way or into somebody else for the sake of the game. And I mean, I respect it. That fourth line, and I think that's what people need to understand, is your fourth line will generate some offense sometimes, but the whole idea of your fourth line is to get out there and to wear down the other teams, most of the time one of their upper lines, to make sure that they don't score until your top line can then rest up and be ready to get out there themselves. And, our fourth line has just been utterly fantastic in being that shutdown line and being that aggressive, dirty area, dirty minutes line. And then occasionally it'll be rewarded with a nice goal. For example, Gavin Brindley scored his first NHL goal against Dallas, which we'll also get to here. I'm just jumping all over the place. But as for this game, that kind of play is necessary because the second period was rough. I mean, rough. Where it started to feel like there was some back and forth, but the Mammoth had a lot more jump going into the second period than the Avalanche did. Like, it felt there was some even Stevenness in the first period, and then all of a sudden, second period, it is just all Utah. And the Avalanche just didn't generate in the way that they should have, especially when they're getting power plays and they're not doing much. At least, again, this is just looking at it in the bubble of the Utah game. They're just not doing what you need them to do at that point, and they just couldn't get that shot. They just couldn't get their fucking shots on net. Like, the Utah PK wasn't even really that great. It's just they looked lost. They looked a little discombobulated at that point, trying to get it all strung together, which, I mean, it's game number 2. I can somewhat be forgiving of that fact. However, I also have here that the offside whistles were kind of insane, and there were probably 3 to 5 instances where the puck was very much onside and it's still getting blown dead. And it's like, dude, you're standing right there. If it's that close, you should just leave it. And if they want to challenge it, if a goal happens, let them challenge it. But Utah really was pressing the issue hard. And as I already mentioned, Wedgwood was the difference maker in this period. There were so many individual plays and so many times where that Utah team trapped, especially that top line, in the Avalanche's own D zone. And it was scary, the amount that they were generating. And what I wanted to say that I didn't say earlier, that's if Utah plays this way for the rest of the season, they're going to give teams a hard time. And I really would like them to prove me right and go ahead and get one of those playoff spots. Unfortunately for all of us, everybody in the Central is playing really well right now, which is so ass. Not ass that the Avs are playing well, but the Jets are winning. The Stars are winning. We're winning. I think the Blues are winning right now. The Wild are winning right now. It is not good. And I genuinely can see like 3 teams, i.e. the Avalanche, the Jets, and the Stars, jockeying for position the entire season. Because unfortunately for all of us, we are in the most stacked division in hockey. Yes, the Atlantic is harder to predict, not because it's the most stacked, but just because all of those teams, the margin for error is much smaller. They're all a lot closer to each other. And then for the bottom, they're a lot further away. Whereas in this one, the bottom is the Blackhawks very easily, but then from there it starts to get a little mushy, a little murky, like, oh, well, anybody here could reasonably start to improve, start to make a run. And then the people at the top, it's like, yeah, they're all at the top, but you don't know who the top is. And so I hope Utah is able to take what they did in this game and continue to apply it to other opponents. Certainly not us, because they definitely did not make it easy. In fact, they ended up tying the game up on a power play here. And it's interesting because the Avs special teams, as I already mentioned, have been such an interesting case because the PK has looked good and they've been killing things well. And we'll talk about it more with some of these other games. And yet, they let in Utah's only goal. And then the power play for the Avs has been kind of rough. But then going into the third period, that power play was the difference maker. It's what allowed the Avs to go ahead and pull ahead and then hold on to the lead. So it's Garfield, the tale of two kitties here. And I don't really know how to feel just yet, but it seems like, and again, we'll get to it. That's just the theme with this first game. Things are starting to kind of come together for that power play. Because to me, and Dom, tell me if you agree or disagree. The essence of a good power play is not always that it's scoring. Of course, you want it to score every single time when you have the man advantage, but you don't. That's just not how things work. It never will be. But you hope that whenever you have the man advantage, that you're generating those opportunities for yourselves. You're able to get those zone entries. You're able to freely move the puck around in your offensive zone. And then most importantly, you're getting shots through to the net. Even if they're not going in, you're making those chances for yourselves, and it's looking active. You don't look lost. You're not getting beat by the PK. You're making them sweat a little bit. You're making them struggle. You want people to think when your power play gets out there, even if they hadn't scored, it's like, oh, fuck, they could score, though, because of how good their movement is, because of how good their chance generation is, because of how good they are at getting shots to the net. Would you agree with that very long-winded statement?
Absolutely, and I can dumb it down and make it a shorter-winded statement. You want possession. You want to hold the offensive zone, make those guys tired. You talked about zone entries, and yes, those are great, but the mark of a good power play or a successful power play, like you said, doesn't necessarily have to be the goals, but how long can you hold the zone? Can you get a cycle going? As well as you said, pucks to the net. And sure, some of them are going to get blocked, but if you keep firing while you have that opportunity to tee off, eventually people are going to get a little dinged up. It's going to be harder to block those shots. Maybe you get in their head, but in most of the time, they're going to keep laying out and trying to block shots. But eventually, you're going to get one by them, or they're just going to slow down a little bit as the game goes on from those little bumps and bruises they've picked up along the way. So I really think that's the key to a power play. And go backing up a little bit, something we said from the beginning is we were both high on Utah and thought they could be a playoff team this year. And so I think this Utah team coming out on the road, taking it to the Avs, showed that, yes, it's early. Yes, these teams are working it out. It's just so early in the season. But, this is the Utah we expected. We expected it to be a lot tougher of an out than last year. And they're actually looking at it right now. I know we only have a 3 to 4 game sample size for each team, but Utah is last in the Central. Who would have thought that? Like, this Utah team that is very good is last in the Central. So, Corey, even what we've been saying from the start about how competitive it is, it's perhaps even better than we thought because Nashville's gotten off to a strong start. And I don't have to take us down that tangent, but, that division's tough to play in. So I just want to acknowledge that you said a little bit ago.
One, I don't think that was a shorter explanation of what I said. But good job, nonetheless.
Oh, you're right. I mean, I jumped off onto little side tangents, but yes, I talked the same amount.
I'm not terribly surprised. That's just what I've kind of come to expect from our duo here. But to follow up a little bit more here, first on the power play is, of course, though, you do still want it to score. It doesn't mean anything if you can get all those chances if you're not scoring at least 1 out of every 4 times, which I think is pretty ideal at the very least. If nothing else, you want your power play to be at least 25%, to be scoring, when they're getting those opportunities. But ultimately, and to the Avalanche's credit, this has been the case when they have scored on the power play. You want it to be the difference maker. You want it to be the thing that gets you tied. You want it to be the thing that gives you that go-ahead goal, especially when you're down. Or, like I said, you want it to be the difference maker because you have that advantage right there. And if you're having trouble getting it done 5-on-5, you should be able to use that momentum to then get it done with the extra man. And again, the Avalanche have done well doing that exact thing. So I am hoping that it continues. But Utah really did take this game down to the wire. They had actually a really good 6-on-5 execution. They were really doing a good job of keeping it in the Av zone. They really had trouble all night clearing any of the lines. And really, I was impressed that the Avalanche were able to keep it out. Wedgwood had a couple real 10-bell saves. So if you haven't watched the highlights for that game, please do go and watch them just for the fact of Wedgwood's saves. Because, oh my fucking God. Again, backup goaltender right there. Also, that reminds me, update for those wondering, Mackenzie Blackwood is, it seems, off the IR. He is on loan to the Colorado Eagles to do something similar that Gabe Landeskog did, and that's to go ahead and be on a conditioning stint to get him up to game speed. And that is because he did not participate in training camp, which, you'd be surprised how important those 3 days are for players to go ahead and get in the flow of things, because they're playing hard out there, even if it's against each other. And it really does help simulate some of that game action. And because Mackenzie Blackwood didn't get that to take shots from his teammates to really get involved in any kind of game type action or anything similar, it is important that he goes up with the Eagles here and really gets into the swing of things.
Absolutely, Corey. All of these are all professional athletes. That's what they do for a living. They are very fit individuals. But if you miss time for an injury or just from the offseason, there's a difference between being in great shape as an athlete and being game ready and being broken into the game and ready to go. It takes time to adjust. That's why there's the preseason. And obviously Blackwood missed some of that as well, or if not all of that, I'm guessing. So, that was time that he needed to get back up to speed. Every player does. And some can do it faster than others, depending on the year. But this is good for Avs fans. This is going to be good for Blackwood as well, because then when he's thrown on the ice, he'll be ready.
Exactly. Also, as we speak, the Mammoth have dropped their mascot. Let's take a look here. I don't know if I hate it yet. His name is Tusky. I appreciate that he's not similar to the Colorado Mammoths mascot, which his name is escaping me, embarrassingly so. But the mascot is 6'5". Damn. Okay. Man, he's blue. That's all I can say. It looks like a mammoth. If a mammoth was and it's Wooly. Wooly is the Colorado Mammoths mascot. There we go. I got it. So yeah, he's blue. I just thought I'd point that out to everybody. Oh my gosh!
Is it just me, or does he look like a fluffy? Just because of the shade of blue, he looks like a fluffy stuffed elephant, just with tusks added on.
He kind of does. I mean, definitely more family friendly. But I don't know. He's not terrible. He's not Bowie of the Seattle Kraken. If you like Bowie, you're weird, bro. Worst mascot in the league. Ew, Bowie, boo. That's why you have boo in the name, because you suck. Anyway.
Also, dishonorable mention to Gritty.
Dude, I love Gritty. Gritty's hilarious. Like, what a
Gritty
dream.
Is hilarious.
What a dream job to just be an unhinged furry.
He's like hilarious and simultaneously terrifying. And you're just like, what in the fuck is going on? Where did this walking fat mop come from? And what does he have anything to do with hockey, but he's here.
This anthropomorphic Cheeto. Fucking, I like the one where he's chasing like a Leafs fan down a hallway, and it's such a visceral reel, and you're just like, what the fuck is this? Also, I just realized how my previous statement may have sounded. I am not a furry, nor is it my dream job to be a furry. But I do think it'd be funny to run around as a Gritty mascot, just being an absolute goober all the time. Because he looks like he's having fun out there. And that'd be okay with me. Get paid money, watch hockey, have fun, and be a giant orange Cheeto man is just the icing on the cake. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I understood what you were meaning to say in your original message. I guess, how are we feeling about Tusky having 00 on his jersey as his number? Like, is it just me, or is 00 just the worst?
00, I feel like 0, I feel like is standard, but 00 isn't really like a hockey thing. Like that does feel a little weird. Like, why isn't it just 0?
Right. Why isn't it 0? Why aren't you throwing him out there with one, like, number 1 fan, number 1 team, whatever, you know? I mean, if anybody would be allowed to wear 99, I feel like the mascot, that'd be pretty funny to see a new team try that. It would have been a bold move. I probably wouldn't have worked out for him, but, you know, just throwing ideas out there. I agree with you. He does look family friendly, much more family friendly than Gritty does, just tying that back in. And, you know, I think it's also good that he is as tall as he is, because if you think about how big mammoths are, it would be kind of funny if you put him next to the other mascots and he was smaller.
You're right. I'm remembering from this game, somehow I've left this to last, and I know I've been going on about Utah for a little while here. I didn't have time to summarize my notes as much as I would have liked to, but I think I've gotten everything across from this game that I wanted to, except for this. So, Dom, and everybody else who's been listening, you know that I have my fair share of opposing fan stories from my times at hockey games, yes?
Oh, absolutely. Some of my favorites.
Well, I have a brand new one from the home opener for the Colorado Avalanche. Now, this is in no way a knock on Utah fans in general, because they're a new franchise, so I don't anticipate them to be as well-traveled. But in general, for the Avalanche's home opener, and again, there's always opposing fans at every game. It's just a natural thing. But for the Avalanche's home opener, there was genuinely like maybe 7 Utah fans. And of course, they were all around where we were. There was not many of them. With the sole goal that Utah scored on their power play, the cheers were very small. But again, that's not a knock on Utah fans for not traveling around. It's just, that's just the case with new franchises. Anyway, I'm babbling. The point is, there was a solo Utah fan. And I was in the lower bowl, and he is down near the glass, adjacent to where I am. And this gentleman didn't even have a jersey, just had the Utah like hoodie. And this dude was probably 6'5" and insisted on standing up for every single play, action, anything that Utah did. Anything. And so he was constantly up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Constantly he's trying to start a Let's Go Mammoth chant with he, himself, and him. And the ultimate sin was he would turn around and point and taunt my entire section and adjacent sections of Avalanche fans and yell and fucking wave and point and jeer at us for the entire game. Now, again, opposing fans are everywhere. Come to the opposing arena and cheer on your team. Absolutely. Everybody talks a little smack sometimes. That's totally fair. I'm not the kind of person who will publicly, of course, on my podcast, I'll say whatever I want. But don't go into an opposing arena, especially when your team is losing or tied, and taunt the home base. What are we doing? Dom, I will pause to give you a chance for insertion here.
Utah plays Boston on Sunday. Of course, this is in Utah. At first, I thought it was in Boston. I would love to see that fan try that in Boston.
That's
or
what
in
I'm
New
saying.
York.
There's some places you get your shit rocked. Like, they will beat you. I'm not saying I condone that behavior, but I'm saying there are places much less nice than Colorado. Imagine if he did it in Philly. Oh my God.
Yeah, any of those big cities, Philly, Pittsburgh.
LA?
I mean,
oh my God.
LA. I mean, think about even the Canadian cities too. Like, Canadians are very friendly, but if you go in there and shit on their one thing that they have that makes them Canadian, makes them proud, just is their whole identity because there's nothing else to do, and you try to do that, you're not only gonna die, you're gonna like die and miss 2/3 of the game because they're not gonna put up with that for more than 20 minutes.
I feel kind of bad for him because he was alone, which sucks. Like, where is your friends? Where's your family? But what's so funny is this motherfucker, if you're gonna do that shit the whole game, and again, he was doing it all the way up until final whistle. The moment that clock hit 0, bro was like, oh shit, better skedaddle, and he fucking ran out of that arena. Like, nah, dude, you brought this on yourself. Stay and face the music. Because the whole thing about all the other annoying fan stories that I've told is those motherfuckers have at least stuck around, shook hands, and said GG at the end of the fucking game. This motherfucker ran like a coward. You cannot taunt the entire fan base and then run away like a little bitch.
Yeah, I mean, you and I agree on that, Corey. It's, if you want to talk shit, fine, but when the bill comes due, you better sit there and pay it, you know? And even if that's just fans who are good fans saying, yeah, what were you saying an hour ago? Yeah, think about that as you drive home tonight. Just something as simple as that. When we say just got to deal with the music, that's the type of thing that they would be dealing with, and that I would like to think Colorado fans would be dishing out compared to other fan bases that would be a bit more vicious with their selection and words.
Yeah, people were not nice on the way out, myself included. I just held up a nice 2-1 in his face as he walked out. And it's just like, yeah, dude, like, again, come cheer for your team, maybe talk a little smack, but don't do that. Like, don't. So, yeah, people were yelling at him, sit down, fucking blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there was a point, especially when the game was tight, when it was close, that people were not happy with his antics because we all had our buttholes collectively clenched, and this guy was not helping the situation, to say the least.
Well, and it's not about him. You're all there, him as well, but you're all there to watch a game. And when the game is tied and everyone is thoroughly engaged on the game, it's just common courtesy. It doesn't matter which team you're rooting for. Sit the fuck down in your chair, get up if something happens that you need to get up, and then sit right back down. Especially if you're in front, right next to the glass, you don't need to stand up. There's nothing in your way. So just plop your ass down so everyone else can see.
He was doing it just to be antagonistic.
Well, we're always happy for new fans. I do hope that one of those Eastern Bloc teams does the fans give him a rude awakening, because sometimes people just have to learn by getting their shit rocked. I feel like we had that conversation this week too, Corey. The only way to know how to fight is to lose a fight or know how to defend yourself. So maybe the only way to know how to fan is to first learn the consequences of not fanning the right way anyway.
I can't quite say, but yeah, I'm just saying, like, he's not going to get beat up here in Colorado, most likely, but he needs to watch himself. All right, let's move on here, because we've been talking about Utah way longer than actually makes any logical sense. Because this next one is the one that we really got to dive into here. Buffalo is not one I will spend too much time on because it's Buffalo. But also, speaking of Buffalo, they are winning 8-4 against the Senators. Huh? Good for them. Finally going to get that first win of the season. And no, I'm not jinxing them because there's literally like 2 minutes left in the game. If the Senators found a way to score 4 goals in 2 minutes, that would be genuinely the best comeback of all time, and also the most Buffalo thing that has ever happened in the history of Buffalo. But no, they're going to get their first win. Imagine going from being able to not score any goals. They had scored 2 goals through 3 games to now scoring 8 in a single game. That is the most Buffalo thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I mean, they just scored 8 goals for the first, I mean, how many do we think they're going to score in the next game? In the next few, they spent all their scoring now in classic Buffalo fashion.
Yeah, exactly. But no, let's talk about the Dallas Stars.
Boo, you
So
stink!
it sucks that this game had to come so early in the season, but it is what it is. What's particularly stupid is we will not play Dallas again. And again, we will play them 4 times this season. We will not play them again until March, meaning we will play them 3 times from the span of March till the end of the season, which is a little less than 2 months, because that fucking makes sense. But for one thing, this was Brent Burns' 1,500th game. So congratulations to Burnsy, who has been playing hockey for almost as long as you or I, Dom, have been alive. He started playing hockey when I was 3 years old. And the guys did some fun things. Devon Taves showed up with a big backpack. A couple of the other guys showed up in the custom tank tops that had Burns 1,500 on them. I want one of those very badly. But it was just a really cool showing. Moj and Reichs had some fake beards on. It was pretty funny. So just really cool for Burns to make it to a milestone that I think they said 23 other players, or he is the 23rd player to make it to that milestone in the history of the NHL. That is insanely impressive. Tells you a lot about his durability and longevity.
I mean, yeah, my love for Burnsy has been publicized plenty of times. The man is a legend. He really is. He has so much character and grit he just brings to a franchise and to a team. And the fact that he can play physical and just play with that level of energy as continuously, like you said, with the longevity he's had is really impressive. Congratulations to Burnsy. And yeah, I think it was 2003 when he started. I think it was the Avs who posted, or maybe it was on the Sharks feed, but there was a picture of his like season photo at the start of every year. And he did not always look like a mountain man, folks. Go back to his first like season or two.
I know, he looks like a baby.
Go back to Minnesota. He looks like an actual baby. And then you can just see like a switch flip. And then there was no aging. There was just baby and then grown ass mountain man who will just fuck you up and eat you for dinner.
Yeah. So it's great. Just wanted to point out kind of the positive parts for Burnsy there before we kind of jump into this game. Let's just put it this way. The Avalanche outplayed the Dallas Stars virtually this entire game. You cannot argue that with me, because if you were watching it, that is what happened. However, Dallas, and this is full respect from me, truly, Dallas, every time we play this fuck-ass team, the Avs will outplay the Stars nearly the entire fucking period. And somehow in the final minute, some fuck shit play will happen and the Stars will end up ahead, and it's borderline unfucking believable. The Stars were also outplayed last night by Minnesota for most of the game. And the Stars, first and foremost, are an incredibly opportunistic team. If they see one moment of weakness, one breakdown, they will score. Guaranteed. Their offense is that good. Their defense, however, is a little rough, and teams can sometimes pull back in. The problem is the final wall that is often in the way, that is Jake Ottinger. who, regardless of letting in 4 goals against the Avs, still played out of his fucking mind. Did the same thing against Minnesota, because the Stars beat Minnesota, quote, 5-2, but it was really 3-2 with 2 empty net goals. Minnesota was trying to pull and tie the game, and they almost did, but Jakey O, he stopped them again. So playing the Stars is incredibly frustrating because you do everything right, and yet somehow you still end up losing anyway. I do have to say, though, admittedly, this was not Wedgwood's best game. I don't want to make excuses. The Avs, at the end of the day, still lost the game, but it really was not his strongest performance that he has strung together. And I mean, we're looking at quality of opponents here. I don't have a lot of faith in the Kings like some people do, as I already kind of pointed out. I think they're out of the playoffs this year. And of course, you had Utah, who was in the bubble last year. He played really well against Buffalo. So, I mean, that's not at all to say that Wedgwood is a bad goaltender. Not at all. He's played absolutely exceptionally and has stepped in super well. I will dote on him forever. But I mean, the Dallas Stars are in a different class than those other 3 teams that the Avalanche have played so far, and I don't think that's an unfair thing to say. And I mean, at the end of the day, goalies are weird creatures. Every once in a while, they're going to have a tough game. And I mean, by no means was his worst game, but when you let in 4 on 20, that's just not good enough. The Avalanche were doing great, keeping the puck away from the net, but I do think that there's a couple that Wedgwood probably would want back, and I certainly want back as a fan as well. But going through the game, you know, the Avalanche, it seemed like that cohesion that we were talking about, that it seemed like they were lacking through the first couple games of the season. It was really coming together at that point. I mean, they were firing the puck. They were moving very fast, very cohesively. And fuck, man, they just looked like they wanted to win this game. During the second intermission, Rachel Toss asked Sam Malinsky, why are the Avs having more jump this game? And, you know, his was the media trained answer, like, oh, you know, we didn't have a lot of jump last game, so we just really wanted to get after it tonight. It's like, no, this team hates the fucking Stars. And you can't tell me that that's not the answer, because I know it is. The fans don't like the fucking Stars, and I know that the Avalanche certainly don't like the Stars. You don't just forget every bad thing that a team has ever done to you. The rivalry is the strongest between these 2 teams. There are few other teams in the NHL that have as active and as heated of a rivalry as these 2 teams, especially now with the narrative of how intertwined they are with the fucking players. But a couple really great players in this game was Cale Makar, who a friend noted to me looked angry. And I said, yes, I agree. It looks like he has something to prove. And Nichushkin also was showing out early and then throughout the rest of the game like he wanted one. And it doesn't surprise me that he was the lone Av to score on the shootout. I think he just needed an inch to the left and he would have scored during game action. Now, that power play that we were talking about earlier, like I said, this is where it all started to come together. The Avs were cohesively moving both 5-on-5 and on the man advantage, and they were doing everything right except scoring. And I mean, that is how you beat Jake Ottinger. That's what we discovered in the playoffs, is if you just continue to shell him, to get after him, eventually one is going to go in. He's an exceptional goaltender, so you just can't give him a chance to catch his breath. You have to catch him in the few microseconds between saves. And that's what the Avalanche did manage to do throughout this game. Now, I would like to say that, and that was the PP throughout the whole game until later, which we'll get to. Marty Necas' nickname is Marty Nachos, which I like because he sniped it to tie the game, and it was really great. And after the Stars went up early at the end of the first, that doesn't make any sense. After the Stars went up late at the end of the first, Nathan MacKinnon was just feeding it to Marty, and he sniped it home, and God, that felt good. And they tied it up early on. And really, this Nathan MacKinnon, I'll go ahead and just throw this fucking stat out there now. This Nathan MacKinnon-Marty Necas duo has been, Dom, I know you know, fucking unbelievably lethal. They've both been shooting the puck. They'll just feed it to each other and then blast it or snipe it or do something creative and crazy with it. They have 16 points in 4 games. That's 4 points a game. Oh my God.
Both on pace at that rate for 160 each, like we talked about preseason. I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
I think Marty Necas, as we already know, is on track to have a really great year. And please, for the love of God, pay him. Every time he scores a goal, the dollar signs just go up. Like, listen, I understand if it's a little more now, but please just lock up Marty Necas. I beg you. Everybody wants it. We all know it. Just, he's good here. He is so good on the side of Nathan MacKinnon. Lock him up. He's going to have such a good season if these early results are anything to show for it. But I wanted to say his nickname is Marty Nachos, which I get it, but I started calling him Marty Waffles, which I thought was pretty funny. So if y'all fuck with that, roll with it. But I think I'm going to keep going Marty Waffles, which maybe makes a little less sense. I just thought it was funny. So Marty Waffles.
Marty Waffles sounds pretty cool. I would wonder if he's saucing up a bunch of good passes, a bunch of good assists, then I think Waffles is a better name because I don't think Nachos has anything in our NHL lingo. Although I have to say Marty Nachos.
It sounds like Necas, so Necas Nachos.
Sure. But Waffles, we talked about that. That could be a nice little saucer pass.
Yeah.
So that could have an extra layer of value that you've come up with. Personally, when I hear Marty Nachos, I picture the zebra from Madagascar with his face like in a bag of nachos. Like from the third one when he had the Afro circus, I picture that Marty just face down in a bag of like nachos, like Doritos nacho cheese or some shit like that. I don't know why. That's just what I'm picturing when you say it.
Yeah, I appreciate you trying to justify what is probably something really stupid. But anyway, Marty Waffles. Rope Hintz is, how do the kids say, a little fucking asshole. He hooks and high sticks McCarr in an icing race. He cross-checked MacKinnon to the back of the neck during the playoffs and didn't get called for it. And his face just pisses me off. I don't like Rope Hintz. He's not a nice person. I would say meaner things, although I guess I already did when I called him a little fucking asshole. So yeah, I don't like him. But this game was high action, high event hockey. It kept you on the edge of your seat, and it got spicy very quickly. Obviously so. This is a rival game. But I mean, if you wanted a definition of what does a hockey game look like, this is a hockey game. Because I mean, you got two of the best teams in the NHL going at it for dominance. And I mean, that's just been the case for the last few years, is these teams are just trading blows on who's the better one. And right now, full disclosure, Dallas has the fucking leg up, and hopefully this is the year where Colorado takes it back. But we'll all see where it comes to a head, and I'll come back to that point. So remind me, Dom, to come back to that point. Pin it right now. Do you remember? Will you remind me when I'm done going on the rest of my rant here?
I can say the words, come back to your point. But really quickly, while you're paused, this is like, I'm picturing Jurassic Park style stuff here. This is two T-Rexes just going at it, like you said, for dominance and supremacy, not because they're hunting for sport. They're just trying to beat each other up and get one over because they both know that this is the real battle. Like all the other games they'll play this year are just, they're there, they're going to happen, they're going to play. All it is leading up to is when these teams play again in the postseason, like they seem to every year.
Well, you're taking my point. That's where I was gonna go. Damn it, Dom.
Oh no.
All right. Well, we'll just say it now. These teams are gonna see each other in the playoffs again. We're gonna hope that it's not in the first round. They're going to see each other again. I mean, not just in the regular season. And the Avalanche need to find a way to win, truly. And thankfully, there are some rational Stars fans out there who say that, the Stars are too focused on beating the Avalanche and not focused enough on beating winning the Stanley Cup. And I do think that's true. And to me, I feel like the Avalanche need to be focused on beating the Stars, because if you beat the Stars, you can win the Stanley Cup. So it's a different situation here. But if they're able to overcome that hurdle, I truly can't imagine that anything else is, or I truly imagine that anything else is possible. And I mean, if a Dallas fan is for some reason listening to this segment, first of all, all the respect in the world for you coming into a Rival Fans podcast. And I know that we don't always like each other on the ice, but I always try and say we're rooting for the same game. But I mean, the game is better having these rivalries. I mean, it makes us all tune in. It makes us hold on to the edge of our seats. It makes us pay for those tickets to go to these games. So, I mean, as much as this rivalry pisses me off, it is better for the game of hockey.
Certainly is. It's exciting for all of us neutrals to watch. Sorry for ruining your setup for later.
It's
there,
fine.
brother,
I would have forgotten anyway, so probably better that we just did it.
I think the important thing to note is you've talked about a lot of stats, but the Avs like nearly outshot the Stars 2-1 in this game.
And still
So
lost.
if you want to call it, you want to call it Wedgwood wasn't on his best night and Ottinger's standing on his head and maybe the bounces just didn't go your way. If you keep playing like that over a 7-game series, it should be fine. Especially if you play like that all season long while the Stars are distracted and focused on you and you just keep racking up wins and get that home ice advantage. I think that's what it comes down to, what we talked about last year. Just keep winning. Just keep winning. Just keep winning.
Fuck, dude, I'd like to think so.
Go ahead, sorry. You'll get home ice game 7, and that's when that shot differential is going to matter. That's just my take.
I'd like to think so, because it feels like that's how we played against them for the first, 4 games of the series. And we still ended up fucking losing anyway. Of course, there was a couple games in there where we ended up getting blown out ourselves, but I mean, the Avalanche trailed all of 90 seconds, or the Stars led all of 90 seconds for the first 3 or 4 games of the series, and the Avs still lost 2 of them. And that's just not how it should be. So at this point, it's just about finding those few weaknesses, because they can beat this team. They can outplay this team. It's shown. They can do it. They just need to find a way to break the neck at this point.
Just find the weak point, the chink in the armor, and don't hesitate. Don't miss, because that's what the Stars are doing. In their limited chances, they're converting on them in the biggest moments. So that's really what the Avs have to do.
I have a note right here is that the Stars are so dangerous. And again, this is only respect to this team that I fucking despise. They only had 2 shots in the second period, and they still managed to tie it up. So
that's actually insane.
And then the Avs ended up leaving the period down by 1. So, I mean, like I said, Stars are just opportunistic. Couple other points on this game here is, I like to call him the little ball of fire. Gavin Brindley got his first NHL goal. Right place to be, off of a great feed from Victor Olofsson. That was a tying goal before the Stars went ahead again. Period 3 was just a nail biter. But the Avalanche did finally manage to use a double minor penalty to get it done. They kept hammering Otter. They tied the game up. The Avalanche throughout the game, they'd get one, then get behind, get one, then get behind. And they needed to pull ahead. They didn't quite do it. Went to OT. And I'll talk about that here in just a second. It was a 3-point game for MacKinnon, 3-point game for Necas. And I mean, you can't complain. They were both playing some exceptional hockey. Passing was great. It felt like both teams wanted to win, and it felt like the Avalanche wanted it more. But my God, it just made sense for this game to go the distance. And real quick to rant, I think the shootout should be abolished. I've said it before. I don't think the winning condition of a hockey game, the ultimate team sport, should be decided in a one-on-one between the shooter and the goaltender. And I'm not just saying that because, of course, it was fucking Mikko Rantanen who scored the game-winning shootout goal. I've felt that way for forever. It should be a 10-minute fucking 3-on-3, and fuck it at this point. If nobody scores, it should just end in a goddamn tie. I'm so sick of that shit, truly. And I'm so sick of the Mikko Rantanen narrative. People act like we traded him to the Stars. No, the fuck we didn't. We traded him to an Eastern Conference team, so we would maybe have to see him 2 times a year, and then we would never see him in the playoffs unless we fucking ran into him in the finals. And of course, somehow, some way, it worked out for him to get sent not only right back to the West, but to our ultimate rival, and we have to hear about it for forever. This isn't me saying whether the Mikko Rantanen trade was right or wrong. We are past that fucking point. I'm saying I'm sick of the fucking narrative. The dude got traded. He is on the team that he is now. We weren't responsible for that. It's fucking shitty. All right? I hate it. I just want it to be like, yeah, he's on the Stars. He was on the Avs. Now he's on the Stars now. Okay. I guess I'm just salty because it keeps happening where he does basically nothing that game except for an assist. But then, because he shows up in that one moment, everybody can't shut the fuck up about it.
Well, and he's up there in that superstar status, right?
He is.
Especially with how he's getting paid. And so, unfortunately, if it's any other just run-of-the-mill second-line player, if it's a guy like Brock Nelson, nobody's going to give as much of a shit. But since it's a superstar, and he got traded twice, you're right. It's not like the Avs did this. In fact, they did something incredibly smart by sending him to Carolina, since they knew they would never have to face him in the playoffs in Carolina, because Carolina can't seem to win the Eastern Conference Finals to save their lives or my bracket for the past 4 years. Whatever. Point is, they did the smart thing, sending him not only to an Eastern Conference team, but an Eastern Conference team, while being great, somehow did not seem likely to be a Stanley Cup opponent, just if we look historically. So, yeah, I agree. It's a little annoying. It's frustrating. My thoughts on OT is I want 10 minutes. I want 5-on-5. And honestly, Corey, I would be really, really interested to see if we actually had ties instead of OT losses, with that point scoring where both teams end up with 1 point instead of 3 points total coming out of the game with 2 and 1. I'd be kind of interested to see that and see how that adjusts the standing sometimes, because if it was really that close and it took a shootout to win the game, I don't think you deserve that extra point. And those extra points can matter a lot down the stretch of the season. So I just wonder if we had the ties and everybody was getting a point time, if that maybe changes or makes the final month of the season that much more exciting and the games matter that much more, because all the teams would, especially with all of the parity we have in the NHL, if you would make it even more accessible to the bottom teams in the league, that if they force it to overtime, I don't know how that works. Would an OT loss still be worth 1 point and a tie is also worth 1 point? I don't know. That's the only thing I'm struggling with here. Would we not get points for OT losses anymore? And only if you make it all the way to a tie? It just intrigues me. That's all I'm trying to say, is I like the concept of that and how it might evolve the game.
No, I agree. And we can definitely save that conversation, I think, for another day here. And the only reason I'm not spending more time on it is because I've already spent enough time on this. So just for the sake of moving along here. And again, if I were to summarize my notes better, we would not be in this situation. So I appreciate everybody for having some patience with me as I just ramble on about how these games went from a fan perspective. We'll finally end off with Buffalo here. And to Buffalo's credit, in the first period, they were dominating possession. They were getting chances early on. They had the Avs on their heels. And unfortunately, the Avs did to Buffalo what the Stars did to them. And at the end of the first period, Nathan MacKinnon in the top line found a way to get things done. And of course, Nathan MacKinnon scores that was at the beginning of the period. I'm silly. But scores an absolutely nasty backhanded goal. And throughout the entire game, the PK did great. The penalty kill killed every Buffalo penalty, which was super great. Power play also looked good, just didn't score for a while here. The Avalanche, though, did end up shifting the momentum back in their favor until Tage Thompson scores from up high, which may be Wedgwood's weakness. That was, unfortunately, Buffalo's second goal in 3 games. And, of course, like I said, they scored 8 tonight. To speak a bit more on the PK and the power play, though, Buffalo was hilarious because they had a 100% penalty kill and a 0% power play, which is the most Buffalo stat in the world. But the Avs didn't end up with 3 penalty kills in the first period, and some of them felt a little soft, but it's like you need to clean that up if you're spending a quarter of the period a man down. You're not helping yourselves any because you can't play 5-on-5 if you're always trying to kill. But they did have a few shorthanded chances, so that was great. The Avs did also start the second period a little rough with some turnover issues, but eventually a bad turnover by Buffalo in their zone by their captain Rasmus Dahlin directly to Valerian Nichushkin gave him his first point of the year and Cale Makar's first goal of the year. And I mean, the Sabres throughout the game were activating and skating with a lot of speed. They looked good, but unfortunately the Avalanche, and I meant to say this with Utah, the Avalanche are just in a different class. Like same league, but just different class of teams. And really that's just how the rest of the game went, especially when there was an embellishment call. First of all, Burns definitely did not trip Alex Tuck, but Alex Tuck definitely embellished, so it was very funny because you don't see embellishments called super often, but it's weird that Burns also ended up in the box. But I knew when the Avalanche got a 4-on-4 opportunity, when you have three of the fastest skaters in the world on the ice at the same time and more room to move, that they were going to make something happen, and that is exactly what happened. Nathan MacKinnon gets the third goal. Game's pretty much sealed from that point. Marty Necas got another one, but of course they took it away because they suck and they're lame, and apparently it was this weird thing called offside. I don't know what the fuck that shit is, but...
You what?
That was lame. But either way, another great game from the boys. A great week all around. Honestly, you can't be mad at this team, even though they ended up losing in OT to the Stars. They've not yet lost in regulation. The top line is absolutely buzzing. Necas is showing out fantastically. The goaltending has been honestly rock solid despite missing your top line. You know what, Dom? Let me read what I sent to you. I think that summed it up super nicely, as a matter of fact. Let's take a look here.
While you pull that up, anybody who's upset about that OT loss to the Stars, just know, yes, it's early. Yes, it's 4 games in or 3 games in for some teams. Avs have the most points in the league right now in this exact moment.
Damn, that's crazy.
So, for the ups and the downs, you're still coming out on top at the end of the day. And it's a long season, but you look good. You look good. For those of us who don't have the Avs as our team or one of these top tier contenders, just appreciate it. I have positives that I'll talk about, but I also have some serious negatives from my games and my time as a Sharks fan. It is a roller coaster of emotion, and unfortunately, it ends up more negative than positive. So just be grateful, be proud of your team, because they do look really good overall and look like they are going to be a legitimate contender when we get to the end of the season.
The one point that I missed looking back, as I phrased it pretty much exactly how I wanted to, is that the Avalanche are also getting contributions from those lower lines. Like, yeah, the top line is doing exactly what you pay them to do, and they are going absolutely apeshit every single game, which is just awesome. Nathan MacKinnon is making my 150-point prediction here look more and more realistic every day. But I mean, you're also getting those chip-ins and those goals from the other lines, which is exactly what you want to see. We'll get into that a little bit more here with a new segment coming up, but Dom, the Sharks have finally played. No, Dom, the Sharks have finally played some hockey games and almost won most of them. But I won't give away the surprise. But I will give away that this team already looks vastly improved from years prior. I will also say that this team still has no defense and forgets that hockey is played in 3 periods. But there are many positives that we can pull from the Sleepover Boys and Teal's first week of hockey. There is also the debut for many rookies who are likely going to be utter studs in the future. But I've already talked plenty about my own team, so it probably isn't very fair that I'm talking so much about yours. Therefore, it is time for In the Tank with Dom.
Well, thanks, Corey. And I think that would be the perfect TLDR statement right there. And for those of you who don't know the acronym, too long didn't read. So if you don't care to listen to my voice, I think Corey just gave you the cliff notes, but I can dive into the details here of finally some Sharks games. And I'll admit, they were, at least 2 of them anyway, were very fun to watch for the majority of them. And let's just start right away. This team, This team, the Sharks, who finished last in the league for consecutive seasons, took it to Vegas in their home opener when Vegas is coming in on the second half of on the backside of a back-to-back. I get it. They were maybe a little tired. Whatever. We went toe-to-toe with what people are projecting as the best team in the Pacific or top two and an absolute playoff contender. Oh, by the way, a team that we as fans, or at least I'm going to speak for us, we hate the fucking Vegas Golden Knights. They don't hate us. That's not the same rivalry like the Avs have with the Stars because we haven't been good at the same time, really. It's just not nearly as mutual. There's that one playoffs where all the drama happened. And then since then, nada, because my team fell off the map. So, you know, we still hold a grudge, and we were very happy to see that start the scoring. One of the problems that the Sharks had last year as well, and seem to have gotten a little bit better about this year, is starting games well and scoring early. And it was Jeff Skinner notching his first goal in teal to give the team give Team Teal an early 1-0 lead. Of course, another one of the Sharks' problems from last year is giving goals up after scoring. Kind of what you were saying earlier, Corey, about score a goal, go back down one again, up and down. And good news, I guess, is that after letting Vegas even it up, it stayed 1-1 for the rest of the period. The Sharks had a really strong penalty kill midway through that first period. Orlov and Ryan Reeves were both out there making their presence felt, being very physical, strong on the puck, having open ice hits. I particularly liked, especially as the game progressed, how Orlov hit Hurdle in open ice. And Hurdle spent 11 years with the Sharks organization. It's not like we dislike the guy. He spent a lot of time, was probably a good trade from Greer, all things considered. But man, he was being a little shit in this game. Like, I like he was a great player, liked him while he was on the Sharks, but he was pissing me off with some of the shit he was doing this game. He was boarding. He cross-checked someone in the back of the head. So I'm happy that at least Orlov got some licks in on him early in the game with a great open ice hit. And for once, a phenomenal open ice hit that was big did not result in a fight. So that was good. Of course, not every hit is successful. And if you saw this game or saw the highlights, I don't know if it made it in the highlights because it's not quite a highlight, but we're talking seconds, like 10 seconds or less till the end of the period. Toffoli had somebody for Vegas, I didn't get the number, completely lined up coming at him. And I guess that player for Vegas heard the footsteps coming or something because he was able to slip out of it and Toffoli just kind of went sliding into the boards, which if it wasn't for my team, it would have honestly been really funny. Like if you're a neutral or a Vegas fan, you probably laughed when you saw that happen to see Toffoli, this longtime veteran, the skilled player, the Stanley Cup winner, go just, whiff on a check and fly into the board. So just got to comment on that. Corey, before I get back to any more of the game, I know I told you this, but in this game, with all the good things, there were three key bad things that happened. And one of them didn't even happen in the game. And it happened at intermission. So Corey, do you know what I'm about to talk about?
I don't. You got me on the edge of my seat here, though.
Well, as soon as I say it, you're going to remember because I remember texting you because having to not listen to because it's the home opener and people care about the Sharks again.
Oh yeah.
At intermission, having to listen to John Tortorella was awful, like so awful. Like for the national broadcast, he was boring, had no energy, clearly did not give a flying fuck. Did you catch that pun? And he just didn't want to be there. I think I texted you, Corey, that he looked like a gambling addict or a drug addict. Like he just looked so ragged and depressed and just emotionless, I guess. It was. And he was so quiet. There was just no intensity. Like after we had that conversations about PK Subban, and yes, he has his flaws too, but at least he brings some energy when he's talking about the game. He doesn't seem like unhappy to be there. So I was happy that for the other games, I got to listen to my own announcers and my own Sharks homers talk about the team with some energy during intermission. But God, Like, if I'm talking 3 worst moments of that first game against Vegas, one of them, the Sharks really played that well that one of them didn't even happen in the fucking game. Continuing on here into the second period, the Sharks actually started the period on 2 consecutive power plays. Like, Vegas killed the first with relative ease, but committed another penalty like literally just a minute later. So after the first one expired. And that second power play ultimately became a 5-on-3 when Celebrini was able to get the puck into the corner and redirect towards the net. And it drew a slash from Marner because Celebrini had gotten the inside position. So just a few feet from Vegas's net. And with only 20 seconds of power play time, that's all it took for Alex Wenberg to get his first goal of the new season with assists from Eklund and Klingberg. And of course, though, because this is the Sharks and, we can't take that momentum swing too much, not to be outdone, we committed not one, but two penalties and conceded power plays in quick succession of our own later in the period. And actually on the first one, I have to take a quick side tangent because it was Pavel Dorofeev for Vegas who scored like within 10 seconds of their first power play and just tied it up 2-2. Man, this, like, I hate Vegas and I don't want to just be talking about their players, but we did a little detour on Utah and I just have to give props to Pavel Dorofeev. He scored a hat trick in Vegas's opener versus LA and then followed it up in the night's next 2 games with a goal against each of the Sharks and the Kraken. He has 5 goals in 4 games already this season. Who would have thought? Like, were we talking about that? Like, was anybody talking about Pavel Dorofeev, Corey? Am I forgetting something?
You are. Last year, he did come out of nowhere and score 30. So he was definitely on the radar last season. I believe he may have been the Knights' goal leader as well. So, I mean, definitely not out of nowhere, but it does seem to me like he's already taking that next step, like towards 40 or 50 this year.
Yeah, and so maybe it's because I'm a Sharks fan and I don't pay attention to Vegas.
Well, Dom,
or I try not to.
We totally forgot something valuable about Vegas, and I think I talked about Vegas last week, and I totally didn't mention this. Hello?
I know what you're gonna say. I'm waiting for you to say it. I'm just
I thought you were
building
gonna,
like the silence.
I thought you were gonna tee me up there, so that's fine. Anyway, fuck you, Rico.
Okay, here we can run it back. We can do it again. Corey, what was it you were gonna say? I couldn't hear you.
It's too late. I've already said it. Rico has already been fucked.
Oh, well, I'm sure Rico appreciates it if he listens. Rico, if you actually listen, be a good bro and just like text me, let me know, say what's up. Because you get like the most shout outs out of anyone on this show, even if they. Yeah. But no, for real. I don't remember if we forgot that, honestly. I mean, we were both pretty tired when we last recorded, so I think we're both firing on a bit more cylinders today, at least. But yeah, so I guess for me, Dorofeev, I didn't realize how good he was, or maybe he was, like you said, maybe starting to make that up and comer. But when you think about Jack Eichel, when you think about Mitch Marner on this team, like, this is just another guy who's, I mean, he's got just great goal scoring talent, like great puck control, a wicked shot. Like, it was impressive just recognizing the quality of the player in front of me that I hadn't recognized before, I guess. So an eye opener for me, even if it wasn't for others around the league. Just one more reason to be disgruntled with Vegas and jealous of their talent level this year. But moving along, because this is in the tank and I've wasted enough time on those golden bucket heads.
Listen, hey, listen, no time in the tank is wasted time. All right, continue.
All right. But overall, in the second period, it was a strong showing, and the Sharks actually carried that momentum into the third period at the start anyway. And that's something that the Sharks have struggled with. They have just almost been caught with their pants down at the start of third periods, like all last year, giving up goals in the first 2 to 3 minutes and just instantly being on the back foot, and it just goes from bad to worse. But not this time. It was actually an early score from Philip Kurashev, also his first as a Shark. And sidebar, how about Shakir Mukhamadullin, who quietly probably very under the radar, a little underappreciated, but he actually had 2 assists on the night for the Sharks. So one of those players, he's not getting the most minutes with his defensive pairing, but he was making the most of his minutes and making an impact on the offensive side of the ice. Um, Ultimately, though, I think the Sharks were better in the second period than they were in the third, and Vegas tilted the ice back in their favor the longer that third period went on, and it was that old problem that just continues to come back. But this time, and I know, Corey, the Sharks defense isn't good. Our third period isn't good. Our power play isn't good. Our penalty kill was actually pretty decent. But
There it
it
is.
felt in this third period like a bend but don't break situation.
Yeah.
The veteran defensemen looked better than our defensive core last year. The third period felt a bit better than last year. Was it great? No, but were we still getting some offensive chances and not caught in a turtle? Not even because of our own, like, just sitting back, but just getting pushed back. That's what happened last year. We were just pushed into our own D zone and forced to defend. And I didn't feel like that was entirely the case. It still happened. There were still sloppy play and turnovers that would put the Sharks on a back foot, and Vegas was definitely just, clicking up a gear in the third period, but the Sharks weren't as overmatched in this third period as last year. So that was something positive. I felt like that from the veteran defensemen, they kept their cool at least for longer. It wasn't 20 bad minutes of the third period. It was more like 3 at the very, very end. Because skipping to the end, we already know where this ends. Or, I mean, if you don't know, well, you probably didn't listen to us last year, but
Oh, God damn, we lost you. We lost you right as you were about to say your team is amazing and awesome.
net that were unsuccessful.
Oh, wait, pause. We lost you, Dom, right as you were about to say that your team was amazing and awesome. You said, if you don't know what I'm going to say, you clearly didn't listen to us last year. So please, go on with what you were about, the amazing things you were about to say about your team.
Yeah, ignore the record from last year. We were totally amazing and awesome. But to be honest, what did the Sharks do last year? They collapsed in the third period. Over and over and over again. It was just a third period collapse. The Sharks know how to play hockey games if they were 40 minutes long. But unfortunately, that is not the case. And this one hurt. This one hurt really bad because I felt like we had actually played good enough to win for most of this game, even in the third period. And Eklund had not one, but those 2 opportunities at the empty net that were unsuccessful. And I hate that I'm doing this twice in one segment, but I got to give props to Vegas. The one on the back check was a stick lift that made Eklund push his initial poke shot wide. And so he was able to follow it up, get the puck back on his stick, and try to go for the wraparound. And that was another Vegas defender coming back on the back check to basically put his stick in the corner of the post and just say no and just hold firm when Eklund's there just punching at it. And so very frustrating. Like I said, huge respect to Vegas for making that effort because it should have been an empty netter. This game should have been 4-2. But those missed opportunities, and when you had Toffoli crashing in to help, and Vegas, the empty net, so Vegas already had the 6th skater on the ice, they were able to get the numbers, get a clean breakout, and it resulted in an odd and just such a disappointing goal allowed by Nedeljkovic, where Corey, you saw it after the fact, and it was just weird. It was.
I was gonna say
it was wonky.
Odd is maybe not the word I would use. I would say, oh gosh, how do the kids say? What the fuck was Ned doing, bro? What was he doing? Why did he come to the blue line to play the puck?
Wait, we aren't there yet. That's the overtime one.
Oh, we're just talking about the
period.
goober goal that hopped over him to get the tying one. Is that what we're talking about? Sorry, you're right.
Yeah.
I was skipping ahead. We haven't done a goober goal yet this season, and I would absolutely say that is very much a goober goal. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, a goober goal that Eichel just lofted, just threw up into the air from literally, I shit you not, center ice and just right along the boards, looking
Just
like he
went
was
on
going to
in.
get ready for a change.
Yep.
And apparently Ned turned into Swiss cheese and just whoop, it just went through. Like, I didn't even know what happened. I thought it might have taken a weird ricochet off the boards or something. Like, even on the initial replay, I couldn't actually tell what happened. I lost the puck like in the air, and I'm just like sitting there and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? We were supposed to be empty netter winning this game. I'm supposed to start the podcast this season saying the Sharks opened up with a win. They never trailed and just took this one, got one over Vegas. What a year. And then Ned went and let that one through. And then, of course, this is in the tank. So it's just got to go from bad to worse. We got to get right to the bottom of the tank here. Get in with all the silt at the bottom. And overtime, or should I say overtime? And actually, at the start, I mean, I promise you, like, it wasn't terrible. The Sharks actually possessed the puck 3-on-3. I fucking hate 3-on-3, Corey. I hate it so much. Like, I get people enjoy watching it, but I hate it so much. Like, I don't want to be on here hating things. For all the kids listening, don't go out there and just be hateful. Spread love, not hate. But Jesus Christ,
Be a fucking hater.
3-on-3. 3-on-3 is just it's just about keep away. That's really all it is. And it's, I don't enjoy it. I find it boring to watch. I find it stressful and frustrating. I'd just rather see guys 5-on-5 so we can get some regular hockey and some more physicality and just, just more rather than skating around in circles. And eventually, like I said before, if you've listened to this podcast last year, you know how this story ends, or probably have a good guess, but I promise you it is worse than you imagine. And the Sharks turned over the puck in the neutral zone, and Riley Smith got the easiest game-winning goal he will have in his entire career. But yeah, Corey, I can't even put it into words, so please now question what Ned was doing at the blue line, because I'm so dumbfounded I can't even articulate what happened.
Yeah, I think what's particularly tough is I did see the replay, just how close Eklund was to having that empty netter and just icing the game and it being over. And that sucks because I know that sticks with a player. So I feel bad for him. I hope he's able to kind of move beyond that. And I mean, I know the vibes are probably still probably very good in San Jose. So I'm not worried too much about it, but it was just rough because I do genuinely think they had the game in hand. They were ready to take the win. And then in typical Sharks fashion, it just all fell apart literally so quickly. And I mean, it was in the, how else do we say it? It was in the goofiest possible way. So yeah, I mean, all the best to the boys. There was a lot of great to take out of this, especially with the fact that they led over Vegas the entire game and only lost in OT. So I mean, you can't be mad at that.
Yeah, trailed literally 0 minutes of this game, left with a loss. So
we know how you feel.
Say. Yeah, yeah. No, I do know. Yeah, man. I'm trying to find something like it. When I look at the replay, there was a chance that like it looked like Vegas might have been a 2-on-0 with just the way the numbers were looking based on position in the puck. So it might have been over anyway. But seeing Ned all the way out at the blue line trying to play it with his goalie stick, and then it just ends up behind him, and Riley Smith is all alone just looking back like, wait, is this really happening? Like, are we seriously going to win this game like this? Okay. And just gently just puts it in the net. I mean, you just see Ned turn and look at the empty net, and everyone, this is in the tank, y'all. This is in San Jose, and this silence, just everyone in collective agony. So, let's, you know what? I've talked about it long enough. It hurts even thinking about it. So let's just get to the takeaways. The Sharks matched Vegas's intensity, intensity, and physicality through. This team looked entirely better than last season. And like we both said, Corey, I think they deserve to win this game. I want to say they deserve to win this game, but the reality is it was against a team on the second leg of a back-to-back. The power play struggled, and 5-on-5 wasn't much better. But this was still like up there as one of the Sharks' best early season performances, and it's the best performance we've seen this early in the season in years. And oh man, the Sharks were literally inches away from winning by 2. Instead, they lose by 1. So just gut wrenching. I can only blame Ned at this point. He did his best Forgiev impression, and what did you know? The Vegas Golden Knights finished with a 4 total goals scored on the scoreboard. The late tying goal with the Swiss cheese, the overtime just lapse in concentration. I mean, we have so many young guys on this team, but Ned is not that inexperienced. I just can't justify that one. So he put the winnable game and gave it to Vegas on a platter. So Vegas, I do expect that you send him a gift basket and say thank you. The Sharks played a much better third period than most of last year. The veteran defensive additions did help some. The physicality, like I mentioned before, of Orlov and Reeves were other good things. But man, none of it stopped us from collapsing. All the good things and the collapse still happened. So just utter disappointment. That's what I think you're hearing. It's hard for me to find the words and communicate this because I don't know where I am in the stages of grief, but this was hard. This one hurt more than some of the blowout losses we've seen, because at least with those you could just check out, and not be so engaged, not be so hopeful. I think it's that I got my hopes so far up, Corey, that to get smacked down in that way really sucked last week.
At least Riley Smith was merciful.
Yeah, that is true.
There's nothing that I can say to make you feel better, Dom. So I'm just going to help guide you into the next game where you will also not feel any better.
We're just going to keep, rolling with the punches, just walking through the fire and all the pain into the game against the Ducks, because similar game, Sharks started fast. Toffoli, the sleepover line, gets their first goal of the season. Toffoli with the assist from Will Smith and from Macklin Celebrini, all of them, their first point coming here in the second game of the season at 3:40 into the game. And not to be outdone, I texted you about this, Corey, but Ryan Reeves, Mr. Physical, Mr. out there teaching the young kids how to fight, apparently still has some silky hands. Like, I think that is quite possibly the best goal I have seen Ryan Reeves score, like, ever in his career.
I didn't even know it was possible for him to score.
I didn't know it was possible in the first place, let alone to that quality. Oh, I mean, and the assists were credited to Gaudette and Nick Leddy, both of their first point of the season as well. But man, the effort he made just to beat his man, getting close and put it home, I was shocked. Honestly, I was impressed. I didn't realize at first, and I was just like, "Holy shit, it's Revo!" But Sharks are gonna shark. So what did we do? 40 seconds later, let the Ducks score, and another 3.5 minutes later, let them score again.
We've lost
without ever trailing and just letting these teams back into the game. Oh no, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. We lost you there for a second.
Well, anyway, unfortunately, like I was saying, Ducks got the goal right back off of the Reeves one. And then, a few minutes later, they scored again on the power play, and very late in the power play to tie it up. And right after the power play, like just the ensuing face-off, we did get to see a super heavyweight fight between Ryan Reeves and Ross Johnston for Anaheim. I don't think I've ever said that name before, but that dude was big. Like Ryan Reeves honestly looked a little small next to him, and they had quite the extended fight. No player hit the ice. They just stood tall and went until they were both tired. So Ryan Reeves has still got it in that way too, I guess. But ultimately, another first period. We had a 2-goal lead, finished tied, never trailed, but this game was exciting. It was back and forth. I have to say that. Second period, Ferraro scores. A great goal from Ferraro, just jumping up into the play. We had an extra skater on the ice on a delayed penalty. He fires it home. But less than a minute later, Ducks tie it up again. The Sharks power play, like I said, it was okay, and the penalty kill was decent in the first game against Vegas, and the power play was actually pretty solid in this game. They were 2 for 4 on their power plays. Of course, they were also 2 for 4 on their penalty kills. So whenever the Sharks seem to step up in one area, it just always evens out, especially when they're playing one of their California rivals. And so it was first, John Klingberg gets his first as a Shark with assists from the kids, from Celebrini and from Will Smith. Then it's Adam Gaudette getting his first as a Shark later in the period, also on the power play with assists from Wenberg and Orlov. So that's, if you haven't been keeping track, that was 5 goals in 2 periods for the Sharks. So that's really great to see for the offense. But again, late in the period, concede a power play opportunity, and all of that, all the goals scored, excuse me, it was 5-5 after 2 periods, just back and forth. The Sharks had 2-goal leads at 2 different occasions at that point. And to start the third period, now I'm just going to keep jumping ahead. Jeff Skinner scoring his second, so he had 2 goals in his first 2 games as a Shark, so that's great to see. Off assist from Delandria and another assist from Orlov. Orlov having some good impact in the offensive zone. So yet again, for the third time in this game against the Ducks, the Sharks were up by 2 goals, had a 2-goal lead. And they really just had to defend a 2-goal lead for 15 minutes. And they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. They let the Ducks score about 5 minutes later and, just walk their way back into this game. And unlike the last game, Askarov was in net. And honestly, I don't know if it's that the Sharks offense was actually playing so great as the stat line might look in this game, because they only had 23 shots on goal compared to Anaheim's 44. So the Sharks were converting on their opportunities, still looking quick and having a lot of energy. But is it more that Peter Mrazek's just washed? Corey, I would like your thoughts on that one.
I think he's old. I don't know if I would use the word washed. I mean, he's not like a top flight goaltender. We'll put it that way. He's not like the guy that everybody's after. But I mean, he's always been a serviceable backup. Like he's solid, but I mean, he's not by any means like a contending caliber goaltender at this point in his career.
Yeah, and I think you're right in being kinder than I am. He last year had his one of his second worst season as far as goals against is concerned, with 3.46 and an 890 save percentage, which is respectable. But in this game, he had a 739 save percentage. So pretty rough. 6 goals allowed on 23 shots is not it, Chief. So I guess I wonder, I'm just throwing it out there that since the Ducks were the better offensive team through this game, they kept getting pucks to the net. I mean, 44 shots on goal. That's a lot of shots on goal. And that Askarov had to face in his first game of the season. And I know there's all this hope for Askarov, but the defense does have to be better in front of him. It's great to see the defense jumping up into play and that we were putting points up on the board. That is wonderful to see. To not trail to this Ducks team just like we didn't to Vegas. Wonderful to see. But in a sense, I think we played better in the first game against Vegas. We were just more physical, felt like more balanced and in control, more even with the opponent, where I feel like we were like what the Stars were in this game in a sense. We were opportunistic. We scored when we had the opportunities. We weren't terrible on our power plays and converted when we could. And, we're defending a lead and, failing to defend a lead really, because Anaheim just kept coming right back. And man, another late game goal, Corey. It's less than a minute left, 51 seconds to be exact, and Chris Kreider ties it up 6-6. And you just, at a certain point, you feel like it's over. When you've had three different times, I think it's three. Maybe it's actually more. No, I think it's three different times in this game, the Sharks had the 2-goal leads, right? And yet they just couldn't get it over the finish line. So when you get to overtime, I don't know, maybe it was just me, but I wasn't particularly hopeful. And ultimately, it took the Ducks less than a minute to score the OT game-winning goal. And really, I mean, I guess it's considered a comeback. They were down by 2 with less than 10 minutes left in the game, and they scored the final 3 goals. So that man, same problems. And while the Sharks scored more, I just don't feel like they played as well in this game. One important thing to note I haven't said yet is this was Sam Dickinson's first game as the defenseman out there. So that was exciting to see him get his rookie skate, do the lap beforehand. And I think this was an easier opponent for him to play against compared to Vegas. But I wonder if that was part of the defensive struggles and if he was a little overmatched at points. He's got a lot of potential. I love seeing the fight. And when he was not taking shit after plays and getting a little physical, getting a little John with the opponent, being willing to give a guy a face wash and that type of thing with his glove. That's what we want to see. We want to see that intensity, that heart, that willingness to step up and not be afraid. But he also looked a little slow, just adjusting to the NHL speed of the game. And Corey, I feel like we've talked about that before, but even if you're this top prospect, the super talented player, it's hard for really anybody to just make that adjustment to how fast the NHL game moves.
Oh, yeah. It's never the same. There's some great reels out there because there's this new goalie training like game or software on the VR where you can take different shot levels like at you to practice making saves at various levels. And I mean, even the jump from college to NHL or AHL to NHL is so vastly different. And that's just with shot speed, let alone how often and how frequently they're coming at you versus other levels. So it is so vastly different. And again, there is a big reason why the NHL is the best league in the world, why the best players are here, because it is the fastest, it is the best. And I mean, guys are launching things at you that you or I would not be able to track very easily. So yeah, you're very right. To just expect somebody to hop in and be just at game speed, you have to be truly exceptional to be able to integrate right away.
Certainly. And I think that's what it was. There were just times where he looked a little slow, looked a little caught to his zone rather than following because he would just lose a step. And so it'll get better with time. It'll just get better with just playing more. And that's the only way to learn is by playing and adjusting. But it did feel, particularly in the second period with the long change, like it was just affecting him a little bit. And I don't think it detracts anything for me. I think he's still going to be a great player for this team. But it is worth noting that in a game where 40 shots reached the net, that, there was one less veteran out there and a rookie in his first game. So did that have an effect? I can't say for certain, but it is possible, or I feel like some of the extended zone time when he couldn't get those clears, just little things for him to clean up in his game. But some positives. Will Smith and Macklin Celebrini each had 3 points in the game. All 3 of those came off of assists for each of them. Orlov also chipped in with 2 assists. Dellandrea, not to go unrecognized, but Dellandrea, I feel like, had a good game. He created a lot of great opportunities. Some of the best opportunities Eklund had in this game actually came off feeds from Dellandrea and some just hard effort plays. A lot of good effort goals in this game. We're just sticking with it, following up, taking second shots, going for rebounds, fighting for the puck on the boards and setting things up. So those are all some positives to take from this game. But yeah, this team's a lot of new players. It's going to take some time for them to fully mesh. So it's great to see the offense work, but the defense has some massive holes because Askarov, I think, is better than the stat line he put up in this game. 7 goals allowed on 44 shots. That's an 841 save percentage. There were points at this game when it wasn't that.
Oh,
dropped
God.
off. More goals were going into the net.
That was so weird. Like, I feel
What
like
happened?
like you dropped off, but you didn't come. I just left it to see if you'd come back. You didn't come back until I started talking. So evidently, whenever I lose you, I just need to scream into the void until I hear your voice again.
Well, learning something new every week as we're dealing with the technical difficulties of. I think it's my new Wi-Fi, man. I don't know. My Wi-Fi's been just acting up a bunch lately.
It's all good. Please carry on your points here, and your suffering and sadness.
Yeah, well, at least I'm not suffering or sad in silence. I have my good friend, my Captain Avalanche here, who's always got my back. So that's but yeah, what I was saying is Askarov, I think, played better, or earlier in the game he was like, he had a slow uptake. He got better as the second period progressed, and then as the Sharks in front of him started dropping off, as the defense felt like it was getting worse and worse, Askarov was facing some more shots in the late second and for the majority of the third period. And so his stat line just continued to get worse and worse as the game went on. So not his most impressive showing. Also his first game of the season. I do think as Sharks fans, we expect better from Askarov, because until this defense gets figured out and squared away and is not Swiss cheese, whoever is in net needs to be ready to face 35 plus shots on a nightly basis. And that's not a recipe for winning, but the Ottinger can do that. He can keep it to 4 goals instead of 7. So, and that's a big difference. So with all the hype around Askarov, we expect that in this year, while he is playing as the unquestioned starter, or at least should be, I expect, or the Sharks do need it to get better, because until the defense gets better, he's going to have to step up and maybe overplay or show that top end talent that he has. Is that just my take, Corey, or is it really just they need to fix the defense and Askarov's not the problem?
Well, I think when you're letting in that many goals in a game, it's a combination, because no way should 44 shots be getting to your goaltender. That's a defensive issue. But no way should, out of those 44 shots, 7 be going in. Now, I mean, you reasonably expect probably 3 or 4 with that many shots. So I do think it's a combination, but I do also think realistically it is his first game of the season. So I'd say hold the breath on the panic button for now. It was not a good showing, no, but I think he has also demonstrated in the past that he can play really well. I think they are putting Ned in way more than I thought they would already, and for some reason it feels like they're trying to make him the starter when they shouldn't. They need to get Askarov in there, and they need to allow him to build up his confidence to get into the flow of the game, because that's the whole thing. He didn't play as much as he probably should last year through injuries and, through all the trades and everything that happened and being sent up and down with the AHL. He deserves that chance to really play at NHL game speed and see some consistency in his rotation here. So I just think he does deserve more opportunity to then prove himself. But, if that trend continues, then yeah, maybe hit the panic button. But I think he does have a bit of he deserves a bit more of a long leash here. There's not as much consequence. Nobody expects the Sharks to be, a playoff team here. So he deserves more opportunity to prove that I think he can be better than that.
And agreed. And I think you're right. He deserves more opportunity. And maybe there was all that hype coming in. We haven't actually seen it materialize fully at the NHL level. So maybe it's just a good word of caution to all of us Sharks fans to not increase the pressure on him, dial it up to 11 too quickly. because there was a lot of hype, a lot of excitement that he is going to be the goaltender of the future. But we haven't necessarily seen the finished product, like you said, Corey. We haven't seen a full season without injury. So I think that's a good point, and maybe calms my nerves a little bit. Some of them that got by him probably shouldn't have, I think is what it came down to. But you're right. First game of the season for him. It's early against a team. He was facing so many shots. They were just firing at him from all points on the ice. So I'll take it easy on that one and actually pivot really quickly, since we're pretty much at the end of these first two games that were very similar. Sharks had leads. Sharks were playing well on offense. Defense had its questionable moments. Yada, yada, yada. Collapse. Game lost in overtime. Did you, Corey, ever happen to know? Because I know we weren't in the same exact form of engineering, and I don't think he was ever in our dorm, but did you happen to know a guy named Chandler in engineering at CU?
Name sounds so vaguely familiar, but I've kind of just suppressed. I've suppressed engineering in my psyche and in my memory. So yeah, I can't say I did. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, he was a buddy of mine, and also TA'd at points in the same major and stuff when we were in studying engineering. And he actually reached out to me a day or two ago and was saying the Sharks are going to find a way to somehow go 0-82 and have 82 OT losses.
No. Oh my God.
So he said it would be such a Sharks thing to do. So shout out Chandler, because it made me smile. And what I said to him is, ultimately, I'd take it, honestly. That would get us 82 points on the season, which would be a massive jump from last year, 10 points above my prediction from the start of the season.
Yeah, actually, 82 OT
it just made me
would be fire. 82 points.
Yeah, it would be record setting in some of the best and worst ways. But that was yeah, I mean, it got me thinking. I'm like, well, we're off to an 0-2 start. We're better than, like the Islanders record. They're one of the only teams without any points on the year. We still have like some form of a tiebreaker over Calgary, I guess, even though they have a win. So point is, the Sharks aren't last. And we didn't trail at all in those games. So it was funny. Shout out Chandler. I hope he gives us a listen. He said he would. So thanks for joining us, man, and reaching out. It really lifted my spirits after those hard games. Which I say this because I need to have a high point or something funny to say, because this third game I have to talk about. I don't want to talk about.
You don't have to talk about it for very long, if that makes you feel better.
Yeah, I'm glad, because Carolina came into the tank and absolutely spanked the Sharks. And this was, oh, by the way, apparently I am the Michael Misa of this podcast, is what Corey said at the top. And this was Michael Misa's debut game, and he went out there for his rookie skate. And why he wasn't doing that in game one is beyond me. Like, why did Dickinson premiere before Misa did? I don't fully understand. Is that just because he was drafted a year earlier? I don't fucking know. I don't know why it took 3 games. But it's not like it was a good game or that he made much of an impact, because the Sharks were just awful, just so fucking bad in this game, man. Like, I actually wrote here an old-fashioned butt spanking, so much so that the Sharks' butts are probably just as red as the Canes logo.
Ew.
That is like my one keynote. Yeah, it was that bad. It was that bad. Like, in the first period, it wasn't that bad, actually. No goals were scored in the first period. And, oh, by the way, it was Ned in net again. So that might have been part of the problem. But no, this game finished with a final score of 5-1. And I swear it was not that close. The Sharks had 1 shot on goal for the last 30 minutes of the game. 0 shots on goal in the third period. 17 total for the game compared to the Canes. I think it's either 42 or 43. Let me get the exact stat. 43. So, yikes. 0 for 5 on all 5 power plays. And at first I was like, okay, maybe this isn't necessarily the Sharks power play is bad, because the Canes just penalty kill was just so good. Like, props to them. I thought it was going to regress some. Jacob Slavin wasn't even on this road trip. He's not with the team. He didn't play. He's got an injury. And yet, God, that penalty kill, like we looked better 5-on-5 than we did 5-on-4. And we looked rather awful in 5-on-5. And after the previous game where everything was firing on all cylinders for offense and the only guy who seemed to get blanked was Eklund, Eklund was the only guy to score in this game for the Sharks and tie it up at 1-1 in the second period. And that's early in the second period because after that, it was just all downhill. And yeah, man, it was ugly. I mean, the Sharks hit more. They had more hits. I always enjoy seeing Macklin Celebrini getting in there and getting physical, seeing that it's part of his game that people don't always recognize. I always appreciate that because he is a really talented and well-rounded player. But and the penalty kill went perfect against a really high-powered Canes offense. So I guess that's a positive too. But it doesn't matter if your penalty kill is good if you're giving up 5 goals at 5-on-5. It doesn't matter. And 43 shots on a backup goaltender who, and you're right, Corey, it is beyond me. I don't know why we've started him in 2 out of the 3 games so far this season. The closest I can rationalize is that based on matchups, like it was Vegas's backup. This was Carolina's backup named Brandon Bussey, who I'd never heard of before.
Bussey.
I think he's 27, but this is like his first NHL game, I think. In his first NHL game, he made 16 saves on 17 shots. So not much background I can really give you on him, but he played well. I mean, he was solid. It's not like he faced a ton of shots, but he definitely looked better than Nedeljkovic. And I mean, I don't know what that's saying at this point, but the way I see it is, sure, you could say, oh, they're starting their backup goaltender, or they're probably going to start their backup goaltender, so we'll start ours too. Or I'm like, or you put in Askarov and get an advantage and try to log some wins on this season when you can. So I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Sharks have a few days off here. They'll be playing at the Mammoth on Friday, so we'll see. Because ultimately, what happened for the last couple of years, we just haven't been able to win at all in the first 10 games of the season. And sure, it's only been 3 games of the season. Sure, we have OT losses, so we already have points on the board and we look good in those, but we need to get a win as soon as possible so that this season doesn't turn into the previous ones that just becomes demoralizing and affect the room. And we have a lot of good guys in the room, so I don't necessarily think it will affect the room, but this team needs to get a win because they've deserved at least one, if not 2. Like they could have won the one against Anaheim with how bad their defense was. I don't know if I can say they deserved it, but they could. That was a very winnable game. And I think I'm back to saying they should have won against Vegas. I've gone back and forth. I've waffled on this enough times that I think they should have won that game, and they didn't. And so this team really just needs to get a win on the board, and going on the road at the Mammoth, I'm interested to see how that goes, because that's another potential measuring stick of a team that, Corey, we've seen can be better. We think will be better. Can the Sharks step up and give a competitive game?
Well, the Mammoth are currently up 2-1 on the Calgary Flames here in the second period at home. I do want to say, to wrap up the conversation on games here, is that isolating the Carolina game in a bubble and just looking at the previous 2 games, on the whole, the Sharks, as we've discussed, were competitive, and they're scoring goals, and they're hanging with teams that they probably shouldn't be hanging with even now, but they are. And we talked so much about a team can improve without improving in the standings, and I am seeing that with the Sharks. Fortunately, like you said, the takeaway is that they are still doing the exact same thing in the third periods this year as they are last year. But as I said, it's still early on, so let's give them some time to maybe build on it. And I mean, it's always hard when you're integrating a bunch of new guys in your lineup. It takes some time to find that chemistry, but when they do, I'm sure this team is going to be fantastic. So I think with the Sharks, they just need to marinate a little bit, because the early results are there. They just need to be able to, as you said, get those wins. So let's just hold our breath. Let's just wait and see what happens.
Yeah, and certainly. And they didn't trail at all in those first two games. And that is a wonderful sign, like you're saying. And so it just comes back to finishing and closing out those games. And I don't know how that's learned. I don't know how that's taught. I think it just has to happen. You just have to do it and make it a habit. Like, I don't know what the cure is or what they could focus on to be better at finishing games other than just doing it. It's a do or do not. There
That's
is
an
no try.
experience thing. That's what it is. It's just an experience thing, and they just need.
Yeah, and it's a young team. It's a young team. That's what it comes down to, I think. If they don't have the experience, and you're right, it's the experience. Sorry to talk over you there.
No, I cut you off. So
But since you actually were wrapping it up, or just one other total not game related note, and this can maybe be our transition away from games, is that last week I mentioned the difference of season opening IR and those two defensemen, Jack Thompson and Lucas Carlson for the Sharks, were eventually both waived, cleared waivers, and are assigned to the Barracuda. They're still out on injury for each of them, I believe. But that I'm not sure why that delay was, or if that special season opening IR allowed there to be a delay before they were put on waivers, but that ultimately did end up happening, and they both cleared waivers because Jack Thompson, being a right-handed defenseman who could be cracking the NHL roster in some places, that was one worth watching for Sharks fans. So he does stay with the organization. As my one other non-game related note from the tank.
well, very good. Yeah, we'll go ahead and transition here to our final couple segments. I think we'll push one for next time, but Dom, you are actually no longer allowed to participate in this next segment after your time in the tank there. But everyone, it's time for something new that we came up with, and I'm calling it complaint. Nope. I don't like that. I meant to say it's time for Complaint Corner. Fuck! Complaint Corner. That is for things that maybe didn't come up in the game analysis that are still worth bitching and moaning about. So here's what I have for you today. Something simple, something small, and that's the second line. I'm a little late to the party here because I am far from the first person who covers the Avalanche to say this, but there needs to be more out of the Avalanche's second line. There have only been 2 assists from it so far, and not too much offense has been generated. It has an absolute abundance of size and two-way firepower. It's been 4 games, and the other 3 lines have scored, and this one still hasn't, when it really feels as though it should have. You also really can't break it up to try something new because the chemistry of the other 3 lines, particularly the first or top line, has been dynamite, and you just don't want to fuck that up. That all being said, I truly can't complain too much because it has only been 4 games, and despite a lack of offense, the defensive ability of this line has been fantastic, and it's utterly stacked with the best two-way players that the Avs have to offer. I still do have plenty of faith and patience that it'll get cooking here soon once everyone finds their footing in chemistry. And while Gabe Landeskog was fantastic in the playoffs, it is still his first regular season action in 3 years, which is much different from how the game is played in the playoffs. But I swear that this line will absolutely demolish people soon. Also, I realized I never shared why the game against Buffalo was so early. It's because it was Canadian Thanksgiving. So just like how the U.S. gets a bunch of football on Thanksgiving Day, the Canadians get a bunch of hockey starting early on Thanksgiving Day. So thanks to time zones, our Avalanche game started at 10:30 a.m. And apparently that's a yearly occurrence. So just be prepared for that in the future, Avs fans. So yeah, there you go. That's
Yeah,
all.
I think the hockey guy said something on that as well,
Yeah.
where he was talking about how it's interesting that a sport that really it's more important in Canada, let's be real, than it is here in the US, whether or not it should be more important than it is here. It matters more in Canada, and yet there are no games on American Thanksgiving, but there are a ton of games on Canadian Thanksgiving, so they do that with the timing, trying to be considerate or adjust that. So it is interesting. And I think what you said there is a different take, that paints it with a more positive note as something that people coming together to be thankful would want to have on the TV.
I certainly
Just
would.
thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think his take was more negative, like, well, if the US gets it off on their Thanksgiving, why shouldn't we get the day off? And that type of notion. And I am speculating a little bit, but that was the general message I got from the hockey guy. And I love his content, but I think your take and that metaphor of football has a much more positive spin to it. And I like that approach a little bit better. It makes more sense to me of like, if I was Canadian and I'm thankful for something, I would be thankful for having hockey on for certain, because I mean, I am that three F's of Thanksgiving: food, family, and football type of guy. So I would feel like the same way for hockey. I would feel like we have to figure out the three H's of Canadian Thanksgiving: hockey, hosers, and I don't know what the
Food,
third one is.
family,
But I
and
feel like
hockey.
there you go. Anyway, I'm not supposed to talk during this segment.
Yeah. Well, you just weren't supposed to complain more. That's all. You can talk. You weren't allowed to complain anymore because you hit your complaint quota for the day. But we will wrap up today with this segment, and that's Nathan MacKinnon thinks we're dumb. That's right, everyone. Nathan MacKinnon on live TV called the Avs fans dumb. So post game, following a tough loss to the Dallas Stars, Nathan MacKinnon did what was expected of him as a pro athlete and sat down to answer the silly questions of sports reporters. Of course, the power play was brought up, and Nate was as candid and unfiltered as ever, claiming that the attending fans, quote, don't know what a good power play looks like, and, quote, we should boo them more. Now, as we already discussed earlier in this episode, the power play looked utterly fantastic against the Stars and even afforded the Avs the game-tying goal to pull them to that heartbreaking OT and shootout. I honestly didn't have many complaints, and I don't think those attending the game did either. Nathan MacKinnon is the ultimate competitor. I hate to lose, but Nathan MacKinnon hates losing so much that he would rather not lose than win, and yes, those are different things. I can certainly sympathize with the fact that he is very frustrated because the Avs were the better team. He could give a shit it was Mikko Rantanen that scored the shootout winner. He doesn't like to lose, and he definitely doesn't like to lose against a division rival. Therefore, I can forgive him just a bit for his misunderstanding and somewhat unkind words. For those who have listened to the show before, I am always vehemently opposed to fans booing their own team, especially our fans, but I am on your side today because what Nathan MacKinnon thought was booing for the Avs' struggles to score on the power play was in fact the legendary boos that rain down every time Matt Duchene touches the puck, and the fresh new boos for the Moose Mikko Rantanen, who sent the Burgundy and Blue golfing last season. And you would think Nathan MacKinnon would know that, but in the moment, I doubt it was at the top of his mind. I had folks that I personally knew live on the site for this game, and I trust their testimony when they say that fans were, in fact, not booing the hometown boys, who have had a fantastic start to the year. I also trust the testimony of other online Dennises who attended. I will say, though, in a bit of a smart-ass rebuttal, that we, the fans, may not know what a good power play looks like, but we certainly know what a bad one looks like. Thankfully, Mac is easy to forgive because fans know that's just how he is, and we don't take it too personally because he more than makes up for it with his play, and he by no means hates the fans because everyone who has ever met him has always said that he is nothing but a class act. Ultimately, don't be too hurt, Avs fans. The comment and the PP struggles will likely be a distant memory as this team develops a cohesive and dangerous unit that is feared throughout the league.
I mean, it sounds like Nate just wanted to be part of the complaint corner. That's really what it sounds like. Is he felt like being part of the complaint corner?
Must have been. Unfortunately, everybody, we've ran out of time for our Nordique's jersey controversy conversation today, but with that in mind, it will be the first thing that we talk about next week, as I know Dom is chomping at the bit to give us his opinion on this one, but we do want to keep our timing somewhat controlled here as I ran us long with my Avalanche ramblings, so I do apologize. But For your 3 players of the week, at number 3, we have Gavin Brindley scoring his very first NHL goal, and frankly, he has looked great all the way around. He earned that spot, and by God, he is keeping it until Logan O'Connor returns. So I am super proud of him and super happy with the contributions he's brought to the Avs. Number 2 is Nathan MacKinnon, and number 1 is Martin Necas, obviously, for the reasons that we have already discussed. Those gentlemen are simply sensational. And now, to follow that up, it is time for your fun fact of the day. To start this season, as well as last, the Colorado Avalanche scored 13 goals through their first 4 games. That's 3.25 goals per game. Fantastic. However, the difference is they've only given up 7 goals in 4 games this year compared to last year's 25. And that's with their backup goaltender in net. Thank you to the Avalanche subreddit for that stat.
On behalf of us, Corey, fun fact to any of the doubters, told you so, that the goaltending change would be a world of difference. We've said it time and time again that if the Avs started with their current goaltending duo last year, how things might have gone differently. Just looking forward to seeing how that materializes this year. Way to go, Wedge Dad.
That's what I'm saying. There's the 2 wins that they need to take the lead over the Stars right there that they couldn't get last year. There they fucking are. So it just seems like the goaltending is for some a convenient thing to forget when talking about how they think the Avs will fall off this year. That with absolute shit-ass goaltending through December, they still made the playoffs and were once again a single win behind the Dallas Stars. But yeah, I just needed to share that stat line, which was crazy that they've scored the same number of goals through the same number of games to start the year. But yeah, 7 versus 25 is quite the difference. Okay,
I wasn't sure if you were teeing me up for that.
I was teeing you up there.
Quite the difference for certainly. But no, this is the Avs team that I think we've been expecting. We want to see. We've believed in, Corey, you and I. I mean, I think as someone who is not technically a diehard committed Avs fan, I think I see this team, especially now with the goaltending, and I believe in them a lot more than I did at last year, really, until the trade deadline or until midway through the year when they actually started to round their team a bit into form. It just feels different this year. And that stat line right there, it quantifies it. 18 goals is a fucking massive difference in 4 games. So that's huge. 3.25 goals per game, I feel like is going to be something that around the league average or so. Like there are a lot more goals scored these days than there used to be. So I feel like that number, with how high powered the Avs offense is, if you need to score 4 goals a game, I feel like you can. So that seems like a recipe for success. It's mathematically seems just like the odds are in the Avs' favor in the long term if they can keep it up.
I agree with you that it does feel different this year, and it's feeling good. Well, everyone, the clock is counting down to the final horn. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this episode of the Captain Avalanche Fancast. If you have something you want to know about the Avalanche, Sharks, or just hockey in general, reach out to us on our socials or email, and we'll be happy to try and answer it. We'd love to hear and read your thoughts on our Instagram. The best thing you can do if you like what we're doing here is to follow us on whatever platform you're using and to share this podcast everywhere you can with everyone you can. I'm Captain Avalanche Corey.
And I'm Dom from the Tank.
Check out our new episodes every week. Thanks, everyone.